Man, is the in-season tournament a dub or a dud? LeBron James and Ime Udoka rekindle some beef, and Chris Paul opens up about Scott Foster. I'm Ro Zapanta. This is the Clinic All NBA podcast. I have the three hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Woo, feeling good. I'm feeling great. I miss you guys. What up? How's everyone doing?
She knows she loves Jay because...
Man, I'm feeling good. Yeah, it's been a long time. John, how you living, my friend?
It has been a long time indeed. I'm doing great. Let's talk some basketball.
I'm Detective John.
Let's talk some basketball. Sammy, how you living, my friend?
I'm good, man. Like, we've been gone a while, and all of a sudden, John's James Harden MVP pick is gaining steam. Let's go.
I don't know if we're gonna talk about that today, but we have to talk about the in-season tournament. I know we just watched the semifinals today, but we gotta rewind a little bit. We gotta talk about the quarterfinals because something interesting happened between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. And what happened is that the Lakers were leading by 2 points with 11 seconds left. The Lakers needed to only inbound the ball, get fouled, and make 2 free throws to effectively clinch the game. Yet when they attempted to do so, chaos ensued. Austin Rivers lost the ball, and the Suns seemed to gain possession with a chance to tie or win the game. Fortunately, the Lakers, LeBron James, had the foresight to call a timeout to save the possession. And here's where the controversy comes. Did Austin Reeves have possession of the ball? What do you guys think?
Well, before I get into it, I'm not gonna let this slide. I know people make mistakes, but you calling my boy Austin Rivers to start the show, June? How dare
my
you?
bad, man. I'm sorry.
How do you do my guy like that? How do you do Austin Reeves like that, man? I know that's Sammy's favorite player, but come on. No, okay. Wow, did he have possession? You know what? I think ultimately he did not have possession, but I will say this. It was definitely, if you look at the slow-mo and you look at people who are actually analyzing it to a very, very specific detail, it was a lot closer than it appeared on the live broadcast. I will say that. Before I jump into it even further, I want to get everyone else's thoughts.
Hell no!
Your Donahue cam was looking at this a little different than mine. I'm just going to say.
It did not look close to me either.
I didn't
Sammy.
look close to me
Did
either,
not look
man.
close.
I get that you're trying to argue for it. It is what it is. But
I will say that LeBron James was super smart at looking at the ref who had literally the worst view.
Agreed. And I think honestly what was worse about it is that in the 2-minute report that comes out after the game, they still didn't admit that it was a mistake. That's kind of...
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, so if you're going to have that report and you're still not going to admit when obvious things happen, what's the point of the report? They said 3 calls, if I remember right, were wrong, and they were all like in Phoenix's favor.
Jay, now that you know that the report shows that Austin Reeves, not Rivers, Reeves, had possession, do you feel like there's like some conspiracy going on behind the scenes there?
It's the Lakers, man. I mean, if Chris Webber can't even get a timeout for the national championship how many years ago, and LeBron can, and his boy didn't even have possession. I mean, it's the Lakers though. Like, in all fairness, like, star players get the calls, and that's usually related to fouls. In this instance, LeBron James got the benefit of the doubt, Sammy, and John could reap in the benefits from that. So congrats to you, John, and your Lakers, because we all know the equity with the Lakers, they get whatever they want, and this is a prime example of that.
We're not gonna.
Fired.
We're not. So we're gonna talk about one play. Yes, if you want to say it's a bad call, by all means. But let's talk about the Suns' 20 turnovers. Devin Booker had 7 of them.
True.
Right? The Lakers shot 37% for this entire game. So the Suns had many opportunities to win this game. And look, bad calls happen. I mean, I'm not gonna revisionist. I'm not gonna talk about the past, but we all know what happened with the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, if that were to happen, if Tatum were to clearly foul LeBron and it was a tournament game, there probably wouldn't be a lot of people crying about it, because people love to hate the Lakers. That's just the reality of it.
John, you're
Tell me I'm
absolutely
wrong. Tell me I'm
right.
wrong.
But I mean, to the winner goes the spoils, right? And we should really talk about, since we're talking about the Lakers anyway, let's talk about the Lakers defeating the Pelicans 133-83, where LeBron James scores 30 points. Man, let's talk about this game a little bit.
Wow.
Just the Pelicans look completely lethargic. All the starters look lost. What happened in this game for the Pelicans to look this bad after they had such a great showing against the Sacramento Kings?
CJ McCollum thought it was April, and he went into playoff form and shot below 30%.
Ouch.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Sammy, what do you think?
It looks like, I mean, it was already a 13-point game at half. If I remember correctly, I think there was about 3 minutes left, and this was a 1 or 2 point game in the first half. And then the Lakers went on a run, and they came out of the locker room, and third quarter went 43-17. So clearly that was where this game changed. I was looking at some of the stuff. High score for the Pelicans was Trey Murphy off the bench with 14. Zion had 13. Brandon Ingram had 9. Everyone was a minus 20 or worse. It just felt like, even though this wasn't the playoffs itself, it was still an environment where, you know, the spotlight was on a little bit, and it just felt like the Pelicans weren't ready for it. And LeBron, all credit, man, 23 minutes to do what he did was insane in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically put the team on his back at the end of that half, and that's what led them out to this deficit. So it just felt like the Pelicans weren't ready for an elevated position, really. That's how it came off to me.
John, do you think it's the Pelicans falling flat or the Lakers stifling defense that did this in?
Probably a combination of both. I mean, when you go on a run, right, and it kind of deflates your team, and you can either respond and fight back, or you can kind of lay down and, you know, wave the white flag. And the Pelicans did the latter. They didn't show any fight. The Lakers did play defense really well. And the Lakers have the size, right? That's the one of the things that they're going to give teams problems, are undersized teams. And the Pelicans, they do have some length, but ultimately, and Brandon Ingram struggles when guys who are defending him have that length. And you have Taurean Prince and Jared Vanderbilt. So we kind of have the prototypes to limit, and a lot of the times make it very difficult for guys like Brandon Ingram. And Zion, look, I don't want to get too much into it, but tell me, guys, if I'm wrong. He does not look like he is in shape at all.
No. I'm going to agree.
Yeah, agreed.
He still has some work to do. And, you know, with that, the Lakers move on to the finals, and it's going to be against the Pacers, who defeated the Bucks today, 128-119. And, you know, we could talk about Giannis, we could talk about Dame, but for me, the real highlight here is Tyrese Halliburton and what he's been able to do, I think, within the last month. If you just look up his stats, the last month has been absolutely ridiculous, and he still stays on fire. Guys, what are some key things that we should take away from the Pacers-Bucks? We could either talk about the great things that the Pacers were doing, or maybe the concerns that we have for the Bucks.
I'll start off. In the beginning of the season, we talked about how Drew Holiday would have been a huge loss, and a lot of people thought that Dame would provide more of an upside for the Bucks, but the Bucks' defense, that was their key to winning, and to have no backcourt defense is showing problems, even with that strong front court. And to my surprise, you know, you have the Pacers beating the Bucks, and I know we're gonna head into this, June, but I think that's cool that the Pacers are getting the props, because this wouldn't have happened in the postseason. Because in the postseason, it's a best out of 7. And when you have this tournament where it's, do or die, lost you're out, the Pacers are getting the love. Similar to like how college is, where you would never know an all-star, be unfamiliar with a potential talent, but it's really highlighting players like Halliburton. So props to the Pacers, props to Halliburton, who everyone on this pod loves.
Yeah, man. I think for me, this was the coming out party for him to the more casual fan who might not see a lot of Pacer basketball.
Yep.
Like, if you're a basketball junkie, you knew how good this kid is.
Yeah.
But without a doubt, this season, he's top 5. And it's not arguable. I mean, his stats are nuts, and they are not empty stats. He is the reason that team is winning. I believe if I saw the numbers right over the last 2 games, he has 27 assists and no turnovers, which is wild.
Crazy.
So
That is
yeah,
correct.
just much respect to him, man. I love watching him, and I love watching that team now. I will say their defense is one step away from being awful. It's that bad right now. That is a problem, because it's just terrible. Like a wild thing, this is just a side gambling note. They actually went under on their over-under total tonight for this game. The over-under for this game was 255. So just a thought if you ever watch an old Miami Heat, New York Knicks game from the 90s. But just overall, man, I love watching that team, and he's the engine that makes them go. He makes everyone around him better. And he is a legit MVP candidate this year as far as I'm concerned.
A crazy stat I heard about Halliburton is that in the semifinals, that was his first TNT game in his career.
Crazy.
So there are not a lot of people watching Tyrese Halliburton. John, what did you think of this game?
I like Halliburton. I do. And I can't help but think the Kings and Pacers trade, right? Sabonis for Halliburton. And I know hindsight is 2020. And I know he may not have been the greatest fit in Sacramento. You have De'Aaron Fox. Here in Indiana, Halliburton's handling the ball, so it's a different dynamic, it's a different scenario. So you can't really say that the Kings would be that much better with Halliburton. But if you're looking at it, if you compartmentalize it, Halliburton looks to be an MVP caliber player in the future, right? If he continues to play this way. To Sammy's point, to have 27 assists and 0 turnovers is actually pretty mind-boggling, especially in today's NBA. Now, Sammy's right. They play 0 to no defense. But that's why this in-season tournament, I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, is awesome, right? It gives the teams like this an opportunity. And no one's going to pick the Pacers to win the championship for that reason. They play no defense. But I love that team. I think they're exciting to watch. Halliburton is putting up crazy numbers. He has the worst shooting form I've ever seen in the last 10 years, maybe worse than Sean Marion. The Matrix, shout out. But he's, as long as it goes in, man.
It goes in.
Like, it's like he's following in the footsteps of the legendary Reggie Miller out there in Indiana, dude. Terrible shooting form, but the results are all that matter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And boys, we have to talk about what we think of the finals that are coming up here in this IST, the Lakers versus the Pacers. I want to know maybe interesting matchups that you guys might like. Also, who you think the winner's going to be.
Well, since the Lakers are always playing 8-on-5 I'm just doing that for
in
JJ.
their favor, right?
See
In their
JJ's
favor?
reaction.
They've always got 3
In their
extra.
favor, of course. Because the Lakers are playing 8-on-5. You know, gotta give it to my LA Lakers, baby.
Oh man, that was not the matchup I was. The matchup analysis I was thinking of. Sammy, what do you think?
I'm divided on this, man. The Lakers have looked really good lately, and they have the best big game player currently in the league, obviously, but just Halliburton really wants this. He mentioned that he's never won anything. And it feels a little bit like they really want to seize this moment. I mean, I think this is going to be an incredible game to watch. If I had to choose, I would say the Lakers will win, but it's like literally 51-49. And it pains me to say that, but it's hard for me to choose. But I have a feeling LeBron's gonna pull this out if I had to pick.
Even before the tournament started, LeBron wanted to be basically synonymous with the first championship of the play-in. And he wants that narrative. And if it's not going to be LeBron, it should have been Steph, because Steph wanted it too. But because obviously the Warriors suck right now, I think LeBron will win it because it just fits the narrative. Like, how fitting would it be that LeBron James, quote unquote, one of the greatest, and probably to a lot of you listening, the greatest. You're probably wrong with that take, but it's okay. Not everyone's perfect. It'll fit the legacy of LeBron James. So props to LeBron James. I don't hate him as a player. I think it's dope that he's chasing after it, and I think it's super sick that he's chasing after it for an athlete that's past 40, which gives us false hope in our own, unathletic bodies.
Just to add one little addendum,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I think the Pacers' lack of defense is going to catch up to them here. The best defensive player in this game is clearly going to be Davis. So if Davis can even slightly mitigate the Pacers a little bit on the interior, I think that makes a difference here too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely going with the Lakers as well. Now that we've talked about the in-season tournament, I want to ask you guys what your thoughts of the in-season tournament. Do you guys like it? Do you not like it? Do you think some things need to be tweaked here? What do you guys think?
Wow. I like it more than I thought I would, and it's clear the players are taking the game seriously. And
Yeah.
what I think we all as fans have complained about the last few years is it feels like there's this lull in the season where the players clearly don't care. There's all this load management going on. They're just waiting to get to the playoffs, and
Right.
it devalued the regular season. And you can see the guys are into it. They're really going after it. The rotations got shortened up. The atmosphere is there. The fans care. Like, I think it was the Pacers hosted a couple nights ago, the last game before they came to Vegas, or 2 games before they came to Vegas, and the stadium was going off. It was a great environment. It really did feel like April or May. So in that regard, I think it's been successful. I understand why they changed the courts for the tournament. I am not a fan of the bulk of the courts. I hope they try something different with those next year, especially the bright red ones. It's hard and physically distracting to an old man like myself to watch basketball with a bright red background. So in the scheme of things, I think they killed it. This ended up being a far better idea than I personally thought it was going to be. Just minor tweaks now, the aesthetics, and I'm good with it. But am I overhyping it? What do you guys think?
Damian Lillard had the same thing to say. He said, I would like to see better designs for the courts. That's one thing. But what else do you guys think?
I think in terms of like the result of the game. So for example, what I like is that teams in the beginning of the season, now they're taking how managing the roster is. So for example, when the Bucks lost today, you had Portis call out his teammates and coach. And then a few weeks ago, and June, you probably are aware of this, like the Warriors, when they did lose to OKC, when they had that lead, I was actually at that game. There was a lot of drama, and Coach Kerr wanted to tighten up the rotations, and they talked about what they should do with their starting lineup, and I think that's cool. Like it really forces teams to look deep into their roster and into their own players and make adjustments in the beginning of the season. I mentioned it before, I like the fact that teams like the Pacers are getting some shine, because they would not get any shine during the playoffs, just because in the best of game 7 series, they'll probably more than likely lose, right? And if there was a change, I would say what we've been saying all along, they gotta make the prize better, more incentive for the fans to watch. And that would be a guaranteed draft pick. I would say the 15th spot. So then, for example, if a really good team like the Celtics win, they get that 15th roster spot, because more than likely the best teams, they get what? The 30th, 29th pick? That would actually force all the other teams to stop the top tier teams from winning, or try to stop them as of more motivation.
You know, along those lines, I was listening to a different pod, and they had a very interesting idea for what the reward would be. This is what they proposed, and I'll just throw it out there because you mentioned it. They were saying wherever you are in playoff seeding by the end of the year, you get elevated by 1 level. So what they meant by that is if you're a lottery team, but you won, you get in the play-in. If you're a play-in team, you get the 6th seed. If you're the 6th seed, you host round 1. Something like that, like all the way up. So it doesn't necessarily put like, it's not a massive jump, so you don't end up like if one random year Detroit somehow wins the tournament, they end up going from like the 18th seed to the 4. But it does give you a little bit more to play for, no matter what. So I thought that one was interesting too. I don't know what you would think of that, Jay, since you mentioned like a reward. That one, it's a little complex, but I like the concept.
Yeah, it seems cool. It just, I guess my only thing is that if you're like the Pistons and you perform, like, say for example, the Pacers do win the in-season tournament, but they don't even make the playoffs. What happens to that seeding?
So the Pistons go into the play-in in that scenario.
Oh, they would have to guarantee.
They would
spot.
jump. Yeah, so it's a guarantee that you move up 1 level no matter what. So if you're a lottery team, you would get the 10 seed.
Ooh, I would have to sit on that.
So that's the thing. It actually does create some stakes no matter what you are, whether you're a lottery team, whether you're top end. The only thing it wouldn't affect is if you finish with the 1 seed, then obviously you finish with the 1 seed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now that there's like punishments for load management, that makes it even more interesting too. John, what did you think of the in-season tournament?
It's interesting because you guys make some good points. I do think that upping the ante for the prize is more for the fans than it would be for the players' incentive. Because from what I'm seeing, and maybe this is just because it's the inaugural first time this tournament is happening, but I think the money, right? And I know it's not a lot for these big name players, obviously LeBron James, Anthony Davis, some of these big names, but they are playing harder. They're competing harder because they know that the 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th guy on the roster is not making that much money. And that's a lot for them, right? That's something that they could actually use, they could put away, and maybe they're definitely not gonna make as much money. So I think it's very contagious, right? When you see your teammates playing hard in a December regular season game, that's going to translate to the other players. And that's why I think you're seeing so much. And who would have thought when you give professional players something to compete for, they're going to play harder. I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, this NBA Cup trophy, right? Who knows if this thing is going to be, people are going to be talking about it years down the line. Maybe, maybe not. But anytime you give competitors something to actually compete for, something tangible, it's going to show. And I think Adam Silver is an absolute genius for this, to be honest with you. I think he's, to all of the smack that we talk about Adam Silver and some of the things that I think he can get a lot of slack for, and maybe some of it's warranted or justified, he does try new things. He does a lot of, you got the play-in, right? You have this in-season tournament. So he's trying to push the envelope. And I think that's all you can ask for in a commissioner for any sport. So I like it a lot. I'm interested in it. I'm well vested in it. And that's not just because the Lakers are in the finals, JJ. I see you. I see you over there.
Yeah, I like it too. And Tyrese Halliburton actually has a great point here. He said this, quote, "Just to avoid the tiebreaker kind of mess that was going on, everyone was like, if who wins, what happens? Maybe playing a couple more games, maybe outside of your group in the other conference, something like that. Just play more games to have different scenarios with tiebreakers and make a little more sense. I'm curious to see how it will look next year for sure." And for me, we need more games. Like 4 games. Agreed. 4 games is not enough. That's like way too quick to feel the importance of these games like down the line. Like it really seems like we blinked, and as a Warrior fan, I was like, wait a minute. We really need to win this game against Sacramento and win by what was it, like 15 points, 14,
12
I forget,
points.
by 12 points
Yeah.
in order to get into the tournament. And literally, I just blinked and that happened. I think all the way up into the All-Star break, there should be games for the in-season tournament. And hopefully the tournament ends by All-Star break. Just because now, between now and All-Star break, there's going to be another lull, right? There's nothing going on. It's just regular season games. So why not extend it? That would be my sort of suggestion there. I don't know if you guys see any holes in that, or what do you guys think?
There should be more games.
I think there should be more games, but I also think there's the towing that line of if you extend it too far, will people start to become disinterested and will it lose some of that traction?
I see.
So I think I do agree with you though. I think that there should be more games. I think it's really finding how many that is though. You have to be kind of careful, at least in my opinion.
I have one suggestion, which was my pre-existing thoughts of what it would be. I thought it was going to be like a crazy bracket.
Oh,
Like March Madness?
Like March Madness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would think that would be really cool to see. I know we're like trying not to steal from the NCAA, but shoot, if they're allowing high school players to come back to the NBA, might as well take advantage and steal more from the NCAA, right?
Like Jay, I know that Jay, I know that sometimes
Logic
16
is
seeds.
flawless.
I know sometimes 16 seeds beat the 1 seed in the March Madness tournament, but there ain't no way that the Detroit Pistons or San Antonio Spurs are beating any team this year. They're completely awful. Shout out Detroit and San Antonio.
Okay, real quickly, we have to talk about our favorites for the IST MVP. And the current odds go like this. LeBron James is leading the pack at -120. Tyrese Halliburton at +105. AD at +1400. And Austin Reeves at 4700. Miles Turner at 7000. So, at a quick glance, is there, like, I know we all probably think LeBron James is most likely going to get this award, but is there like maybe a sneaky person that might get in there, or maybe a bet that you would like to place that you might think might hit
So
for
funny
this
you should
MVP
ask.
award? Yeah, Sammy, take it away.
Well,
TJ McConnell. Sammy's putting 100 on TJ McConnell.
told you.
Great.
So remember, this award is for all the play going back before the knockout round. So this is not a one-game
Okay.
award. So that being said, this is down to those two guys. It's Halliburton or LeBron, and it's going to be whoever wins the game. So on the gambling front, to me, this is very simple. If you think the Lakers are going to win, you bet LeBron to win MVP because his MVP odds are better than the money line for the Lakers outright. The Lakers money line is -160. LeBron is at -120. Anything goes the other way. If you think Halliburton, or if you think the Pacers are going to win, then you bet the Pacers outright money line because that's +160 and his MVP odds are a little lower. Because unless Halliburton or LeBron, either way, like unless one of them goes for like 50 in this game, they're not going to win the MVP if their team doesn't win. But just because this takes everything into account before, I don't see a scenario where like Anthony Davis or Reeves will win it, barring just some literally record-breaking performance, just because LeBron's been unreal for these last couple weeks, and then Halliburton has been the same way. So that was my look at it. Was there's a very real value-based opportunity for people to maximize their money depending on who they think is going to win this game.
Yeah, agreed. This is a 50-50. It's a toss-up. And if you bet on anybody else other than LeBron or Halliburton, I'm sorry, you should just throw your money in the trash can and burn it and roll it down the river because there's absolutely no way anybody else is winning the MVP. I will guarantee it. I will Charles Barkley guarantee it. And I know that doesn't really, that's there's irony in that, so.
I gotta put money on your boy D'Angelo Russell.
Stop it.
Most likely to
he's
be
gonna
traded
go off.
before the tournament ends.
Well, with that, we're going to take a short little break with a word from our sponsor.
Are you tired of constantly losing your bets on unfair gambling apps? Our sponsor, Parlay Play, has the best lines to increase your chances at winning it big. Not only does it have great lines, it's also an awesome app with a community feel.
Use code ClinicAllNBA for a deposit match up to $100 and a free $5 game on the house. They also have a feature called Slide the Line where users can raise or lower a line of their choosing. Pause the pod, get on your phone, and download the app now.
Pause the pod, get on your phone, and download the app. Indeed, we are going to talk about, once again, LeBron James. He had a little confrontation with Ime Udoka, and Ime Udoka got his first ejection as coach of the Houston Rockets. The dispute came late during the Rockets' 107-97 defeat to the Los Angeles Lakers on Saturday night. The quarrel led to double technical fouls for the two respective parties, which resulted in Udoka's second of the night. His first technical foul came with 2 minutes and 51 seconds in the second quarter. So this is the interaction that was caught by a Twitter user. I mean, an X user. I'll never get that right. An X user who shared a video and had leaked audio of the exchange at crypto.com. And Ime Udoka said this. I'm going to do my best to dance around these words here. He said, "Stop crying like dogs, man." LeBron goes, "We're all grown men. That word ain't cool." Udoka says, "Soft, but boy, stop dogging, acting like you're gonna do something." Man, that was awful. You can sort of see where we're going here with this interaction. Boys, I want to ask you, what do you guys think of, one, the interaction, two, was the technical and ejection warranted?
Can I try to translate it real
Yeah,
quick?
Go ahead.
Stop crying like batches, man, Udoka said. Udoka said, "Stop crying like batches, man. LeBron, we're all grown men. That batch word ain't cool." Udoka, "Soft ash boy, stop batching. Acting like you're gonna do something." All right. I don't know if that's any more clear for our audience, but I feel like
That's way
maybe
more clear.
it's a little
Thank
more
you, John.
clear, right? Okay, you got it. This is a family-friendly pod, okay? I appreciate it, bro, for trying to make sure that it's PG.
I tried. I failed.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sammy, please start us off on this exchange here.
I don't mind the double text. I think it's stuff like this can escalate, and obviously the league needs to put a limit on it. I know people will say, well, the 80s and 90s was a lot worse. Yes, I know. Well, that's not where we are anymore. It had just happened that it was Udoka's second. I don't know what he got the first one for, but it is what it is. Like, if he's going to talk like that, he's got to be prepared that the refs are going to hear. It's the most publicized player in the league, and so the whistle is going to be quicker. Like, to me, this was stupid on Udoka's part. I don't get... You might be irritated, I get it, but you're not accomplishing anything with this conversation. Except for maybe pissing LeBron off, which, based on past history, is probably not the smartest thing to do. So... I get it. I think the double texts were warranted, and as a result, he got ejected. Like, I don't think you can put the whistle away because you can't chance it. And the league hasn't ever since, obviously, going way back since Malice at the Palace. They're very quick whistled on anything like this anymore. So, it's what it is to me. What do you guys think? Warranted?
Yeah, his ejection was warranted. I mean, it's kind of soft to get thrown out for talking smack, but as a coach, you don't do that to the opposing players. You know, that's the job of your own players to do, to not only talk trash, but most importantly, back it up. And the fact that they're getting their ass kicked, which is why he was probably pissed, that's on your players who you coach. So it's probably, one, you don't have the talent on your roster, or two, you're not coaching them right. So, I mean, you know, for us, we do like sports, but even participating in sports, if you have the opposing coach talk smack to you, it's like, what? You're supposed to be like the role model, the one that your players look up to,
Right.
the one that showcases professionalism and sportsmanship. None of this crap here. to be honest, I wouldn't see Phil Jackson do this to opposing players, and I wouldn't see Pop.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to see a coach have this type of exchange with a player, but then I look back and I think, man, LeBron was 18, Udoka was 26, and they played against each other when LeBron was a rookie. So it's not, to me, it's maybe Udoka's just upset that he was getting punked 20 years ago by LeBron James, and now he's getting punked 20 years later in a different scenario. But I mean, I don't mind the trash talk. I'm old school like you guys. I think it's good for the game. Obviously, there's a certain line that you shouldn't cross. Draymond Green comes to mind, Jordan Poole. But maybe that line should have been crossed. I don't know. But you know what I mean? I think double text was warranted. Ejection was warranted. And I guess I can't say I'm surprised with maybe Dylan Brooks is rubbing off a little too much on Ime Udoka over there in Houston. So,
or do you think Dylan
got
Brooks
some dogs over there? Yeah.
You think Dylan Brooks heard what Ime said and was like, "Damn, man."
I wouldn't say that.
What was that about? Anyway, I'm going to move us on to our next topic here. We're going to talk about Chris Paul and Scott Foster appearing on a Sirius XM NBA radio with Justin Termine and Eddie Johnson. Silver explained the two men don't have to be friends, but you both have to go out and do your jobs. The latest chapter of the Chris Paul and Scott Foster feud came on November 22nd when Paul played his first game against the Phoenix Suns at Footprint Center after being traded to the Golden State Warriors during the offseason and got ejected by Foster. Paul had this to say. He said, quote, "We had a situation some years ago and it's personal. The league knows, everybody knows. There has been a meeting and all that. It's just a situation with my son. I'm okay with the ref saying whatever, just don't use a tech to get your point across. I've got to do a better job of making sure I'm staying on the floor for my teammates, but that's that." Last night during the post-game, there was another comment CP3 had on Adam Silver's statement. He said, "Nah, ain't nobody called me since all that happened." So, I guess how are we let's unpack what's happening here. So there is obvious history between Scott Foster and CP3, and it seems like Scott Foster is very loose with that whistle when it comes to CP3 and his antics per se. And CP3 sometimes gets frustrated, sometimes he gets ejected, right? What do you guys think of all this? Is there something here, or is this not anything to really blink at? What do you think?
It's okay, boys. Let me ask you this. Sorry, Jin. Let me ask Sammy and John this first, which is, if a player has a losing record with a ref and the player's known to be a winning player, and the record's I think 3-13. Does that raise concern? Or should you never blame the refs?
No, it does on some level if it's a long-term thing where it's consistent and it's known that the ref and the player do not like each other. So in this case, yes, I do find some concern in it personally.
Nobody likes Scott Foster. All my homies hate Scott Foster. Okay, well, I mean, like,
you are a hater.
I don't know. Can somebody verify this? Because from what I've been reading, and I hope in today's day and age, right, you can't know what's for certain, what's truth. But I think that back, and for people that don't know this, that didn't follow the NBA back then, but Tim Donahue, the ref who was riddled with scandal, right? Gambling on games and reffing very important playoff games. And I get, yes, Sammy, I see your facial reaction. The Lakers and the Kings, he was reffing one of those pivotal early 2000 games. I acknowledge that. I'm not a complete 100% homer. But I think there was a report that Scott Foster was in constant contact with someone with Tim Donahue back in the day with many phone calls around that time where the scandal happened. And my initial thought is, how come that kind of was just like swept under the rug? I mean, I can understand why that may have been swept under the rug because it implicates the NBA in a really bad way. But Scott Foster to me is like somebody who really, really should not be refereeing important NBA games. He's very unhinged. If anything, you should never let a personal conflict or something like this with CP3 get in the way of your ability to referee games at an objective level. Do you guys agree with me?
Yes, and related to that, I know that obviously referee scheduling has to be complicated, but if you as the league know that there is a history between this player and this ref, why is this ref still reffing this player's games?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't get that either.
That's the one that gets to me.
Just to provide background to some of the listeners out there, the rumors that the story that Chris Paul is referring to is that one of or post game when you're exiting and the refs are leaving in their private cars, Chris Paul's son was playing like in the middle of the parking garage, and Scott Foster honked at Chris Paul's son and told him to get the F out of the way.
Wow.
So,
I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the rumor.
that's the rumor. You know what
So-
they say about rumors, right? They're usually
They're
true.
always true, baby.
You know what? I'm gonna go a step further and probably say he said even something even worse. I'm gonna run with it. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, but he definitely said something worse, derogatory names, you know, all of that.
All right.
Interesting.
So
That's an interesting.
I have two dads here on this pod and one about to be dad. So let's say the same situation happened to you guys. Are you guys holding a grudge, Sammy?
Yes, absolutely. If
Okay.
someone messed with my son,
Yeah, if not only like mess with your son, like, well, let me add on to that. If someone cusses at your son, like, good luck controlling my rage.
John.
Well, doesn't matter. But I mean, I'm having a daughter, so but
Even
I
worse.
know that doesn't. Yeah, that would probably make it even worse. Is what I'm thinking for sure. I'm not a dad yet, soon to be, but I mean, I can only imagine like it's a kid, man. You know what I mean? If anything, you could like honking the horn just so that you're making sure that the kid's aware that you're there and you don't want to hit them, get their attention. Maybe I can understand that. Maybe I can understand that, but to like swear at the kid and tell the kid to get the flunk out of the way, no, I think that's a little over the top, man. Definitely crossing the line for sure. Like you shouldn't even say that to like grown adults, you know what I mean? Like be like, hey, excuse me, can you get out of the way or move?
Move.
Get up. Yeah, play some ludicrous out there or something like that.
Is that what Scott Foster bumps on his way out? That's
it's actually his
amazing.
horn.
Well, anyway, boys, that's actually all we have time for tonight's episode. I want to thank you three for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you all.
She know she love Jay because
John, thanks for being on, man.
Hey, that's always been fun, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I'm Detective John.
Sammy, thanks for being on, dude.
Always great to be here, man.
Sammy takes it all the way.
And of course, shout out to our video producer, RJ. Check out our YouTube channel. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, The Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panta. This is The Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.